Hi, I'm Kristin Davis, and I want to know, are you a Charlotte? Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Are You a Charlotte? We are here today with Karamo Brown. It's so exciting. You might know him from Queer Eye for the Straight Guy, but also he has his own talk show now. Let's hear all about it.
Well, I've always wanted to talk show since I was like 9 years old. This was like my childhood dream. Yeah, I used to. My mother found my middle school yearbook the other day, and I should bring it in. And I wrote in there, "Hopefully, you'll be a guest on my stage one day."
No.
And so I've been manifesting this forever, and it's only because I'm nosy as hell. I'm so nosy. I want to know everyone's business.
Perfect.
Like, if you have any gossip, Kristin, please call my phone. I am the one to tell.
Okay.
Because also I can keep a secret. I can keep a secret.
Okay. That's good.
I'm evolved.
Okay, good.
And so I just wanted a daytime talk show where I could also be nosy, but also help people. Because as a little kid, I felt super alone. I felt super like no one understood me. I felt like I didn't understand where to get help from. Like, this like nowadays people have Instagram, they can just swipe their stories and a million people are giving advice. But, I'm in my 40s, late 40s, and there was nobody giving me advice on Instagram or somewhere. So you didn't know where to go.
Definitely.
And so my goal is just to do that and to have it now, a show where it's fun, it's entertaining, we're a little messy, but also people get real advice on how to be better. It makes you feel good.
And
we're in season 4 in a time where shows get canceled quickly.
Big time. No joke.
Really,
wow. That's so nice. And so nice because sometimes, as great as Instagram is in terms of being able to connect people, at the same time, I feel like it's a little bit dangerous in terms of advice because you don't necessarily know where that advice is coming from, or you know what I'm saying? Like, it worries me a little. My kids are not on social media so far, and I'm glad about that. But I do feel like you can kind of find your people that way in some ways, right? But at the same time, sometimes the advice, I'm like, I don't know if we should listen to that advice.
Yeah. No, of course. Well, one of the big things for me is like on my talk show, or even like when I'm giving advice on social media, I don't give generic advice.
Right.
If I'm going to give you advice, I'm going to give you a step that needs to come with it. And I think that's always the thing that misses. Like, here's actual stuff. Like, I hate when people say, get better self-esteem. Like, girl, if I could do that, I already had it. It's like, I already had it. I would have already had it. I would have already, if like, get out that relationship that's bad. If I could have, I would have already been out of it.
This is a good point.
Clearly, I love the push, but the push has to come with clear instructions. And so that's one thing that about Instagram for me, like, instruct people if you want to do this, but also like tell them what you've been through and where you're at. And
definitely,
I think that's part of what I love about you. You're very transparent, if I can be honest.
Oh, thank you.
You do share. You do share and you give.
Thank you.
And that's something you're welcome. And I do it as well. And I appreciate that. You know what I mean? Yeah, you do. Like, no one's asking you to give your full life, but like, we know people in this business, they sometimes don't just, you have to give a piece of yourself. And it's when people connect. And that's why we connect with you.
That's true. Thank you. I mean, it's been a journey. It's been a journey. Like we, Adam and I were talking earlier about like, because I've been doing this for a long time, right? And the industry has changed obviously so much and is in the, turmoil currently, right? Changing again. And when we first started, wanting to act and acting, we didn't know that we were going to need to share so much of ourselves. Do you know what I'm saying? Like we were afraid of it in a lot of ways, like we were in protection.
Well, yeah, back then the industry was your condition that you have to be this and you don't share your personal life unless you want to be in the tabloids. If you want to be in tabloids, be scandalous, you share.
Right, right. But now I think it's nice in some ways that the walls have come down. But I also feel like then, like for my kids, I'm always a little worried about protecting them because they didn't choose my job, before they were born, obviously. So I don't necessarily want them to, be subjected to all the stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like, how do you deal with that with your kids?
It's the thoughtfulness. And I think that's the key thing for parents. I think the more thoughtful you can be in putting yourself in kids' shoes is the greatest gift that you can ever give. And anytime I make a decision, I always put myself in their shoes.
That's
And
nice.
sometimes as parents, we think we know best and we forget like it's hard when you're younger and people have an opinion of you, but also when they have opinion of your family.
Right.
And you know, and this is not just because we're in the industry. This goes for anybody. Like when you find out your neighbor's dad has done this,
Right.
as much as you think it's just the adults, the kids come around and they pick on them. And I think that thoughtfulness is something that I wish more parents, had. Because
Yeah.
especially on my daytime talk show, you wouldn't believe how many parents I come across that have that very, still to this day, that old school feeling of like, I'm the parent. What I say goes. What I say do does.
Wow.
Whatever I believe is what you believe. You know what I mean? If
Mm.
you don't like it, get out of my house. If you don't want it, and
Ooh.
these are things that we hear. This,
Wow.
like we've heard this. I'm sure you've heard one of your friends say one of those things or a variation of those things. Like, good job. Thank God for your yes.
No, my friends, we're all in the other
Good.
group of like, we're trying to do it
Good.
differently. And then maybe we might err too far on the other side. Do you know what I mean?
I got it. Got it.
Yeah.
Yes, yes, yes. Were you given too much freedom or something?
Yes.
Well, listen. I still believe that the first step is not forgetting that these kids are still little humans that have to live in this world,
Yeah.
that have their own thought, free
Hmm.
will. And I think respecting that is something that is lost. And so I applaud
Good
you
point.
for doing that. If you're going on the other end, we can talk about that.
Right,
We
right.
can
I
figure
mean,
out,
I don't want to talk too much about that because then we'll be
yeah.
on a whole other
No,
side.
I
But
know.
you know what I want to ask you about, and then because I saw when on the bio about your show, like, and because of your own life and your own, kind of really interesting way that your life unfolded in terms of your children and your own sexuality and your career, right? It's all very interesting and unusual. When you look at Sex and the City, because when I saw the actual episode that we have you breaking down, which is Attack of the 5'10" Woman, I was like, oh, I don't know if this is the right episode to have Karamo, but here you are, and we're happy to have you. But like, it's a kind of very gender normative type of an episode for us. You know what I'm saying? Like, what do you
Yeah.
think about, like, what's your perspective on Sex and the City and your own like feelings on gender roles?
Yeah. Well, Sex and the City for me, because I'm a gay man, obviously, it was my bread and butter. Like, you know,
That's
that was our
nice.
bread and butter.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
that's
yeah,
what
yeah.
we were looking at. And so, gender roles for me when I was a kid made me feel unsafe
Hmm.
because being a gay man and knowing at a very young age, this is who I am. This is who I hope to love one day. I knew that I had feminine ways, and when people would see me in the kitchen wanting to like bake or do something that I thought was so fun and just was me being creative, all of a sudden it was like also a way for people to pinpoint that
Mm,
I was different and that I was, this. And it was hard because it was like, why can't I enjoy these things? And
right.
why can't I do these things without being pinpointed as something else? And as I become an adult, I'm free of that. And I don't subscribe to gender roles, in that way anymore. And actually, when I talk to men, if I can be very real with you, I
Yeah.
think most straight men, being a straight man is a prison. And I think most straight men
Oh,
are in prison.
oh dear.
And it's the truth. I look at my straight buddies and the way that they have to control their thoughts, their movements, their actions because they're afraid that if one person catches one thing, there's going to be a joke or there's going to be a landslide of something that they feel they can't control or they can't handle. And it is so it's heartbreaking sometimes
Yeah.
because I get my straight male friends, and sorry to go down this path, but I get my
No, I
straight male
like it.
friends who come over my house and they'll after like a couple times their guard will get let down
Yeah.
and you see the little boy in them
Oh,
that wasn't stifled by the world and this gender role. You see them see something that's exciting and they get excited and they're fluffing around and then they'll stop for a moment because they're like, hold on, I wasn't supposed to be doing that. And
oh,
then they realize like, oh no, I'm in a safe space that I can flop around and be excited because
yeah.
I'm a human being. And
Yeah.
emotions, whether they're happy, sad, excited, not, come. And I just feel so sad for so many men that take these gender roles and have put themselves in a prison of who they think they have to be instead of just being their holistic self and knowing that the women in their lives will love them and appreciate it more, will
Absolutely.
appreciate them more, the more they can be authentic and share. And being yourself doesn't mean that it takes away from you being able to provide security, doesn't mean it takes away from you being able to be a protector, whatever things
Right.
you think that you need to be. But it also allows you to say, like, when you were 5 years old and you were running around and dancing in the dirt or dancing and having fun, you still get to be that. You still get to dance. Like,
Sure.
but
Yes.
what we do know is that many straight guys feel like they can't. They get in public and they're like,
And now I feel really bad for the straight men right now. I think they're
they
confused.
are in a
I think it's,
prison and a
yeah.
confusion. And it breaks my heart.
It's sad. And I also see I feel like there's some generational shifts happening with that though. Like I feel like
There
the
is.
younger men might not be so much controlled. I'm hoping.
I live in New York and in LA as well. So I go
Right?
back and forth. I think in our coast we do, but when I go back to Texas,
Oh
it is
yeah.
getting worse. It's getting worse. Yet it's getting worse for them.
Oh
Where
no.
now because of the I call it the algorithm divide. Now because of the algorithm divide,
It's a real thing.
it's a real thing.
Yeah.
These young boys feel like they have to choose a side.
Oh
They
no.
have to they have to take a strong stand, either on this side of the algorithm or on that side,
Oh no.
which has got them deeper into this prison of like, I cannot even express ideas or thoughts or creativity or love
Oh
because
no.
if I am not connected with this side of the algorithm, then then I'm going to be perceived to be on that side.
Right.
And so for me, when I look at those places, I think that's part of what we see that is killing our country. It's killing our, so I had this little thing that I did with, I've done this with my mother's friend. My mother's 70 and I do it with her friends. But I also just did it recently with my son. My son is 27. I did it with three of
Your
his
son is
friends.
27.
Yeah, he's 27 now.
Wow, that's impressive. Okay. Oh my gosh. Okay, go
But
ahead.
I reset the algorithm. And most people
Oh,
don't know you can do that. I literally went to their Instagram and I reset the algorithm.
wow.
And what happened is when you reset someone's algorithm, all the things that they're being fed on a daily inside of their homes, telling them about this, telling them that, it goes away.
Wow.
And in a heartbeat, the things that you're being fed have been lost. And then for about a day and a half, the algorithm says, who are you?
Wow.
And you have to type in who you are.
Well, that's
You have to
amazing.
type in, I want to see this. I
Right.
want to see. It's the same thing when we all started before the algorithm got it.
Yeah.
So it's so funny to see my sons who were getting this sort of like ideas of what it was to be a man, these things that they were supposed to watch, videos
Mm-hmm.
that were a little bit more violent, a little bit more this, a little bit more that. And then I reset it. And then all of a sudden, you saw on one of my, he wants to play the cello. And now his feed is
Wow.
full of like cello stuff. And I was like, was it full of it before? And he said, no. And I was like,
Wow.
yeah, because your algorithm took you so far away from who you are that until you resetted it, you forgot that that was a passion of yours. That was a love. It wasn't something that you were seeing because your algorithm was feeding you everything else. And I tell them, watch that.
Yeah.
Watch what you're being fed and if it aligns with who you want to be.
That's
And so
good.
I just, it's something that I try to get my young boys, straight men, older
Yeah.
people to do.
Yeah.
Reset that algorithm if you want to be better in life.
That's a good point. I like that very, very
Yeah.
much. Yeah. I
Yeah.
haven't, neither
Yeah.
of my children is on it, the social media,
Yeah.
thank God, so far. But even for my own algorithms, like mine is mostly full of cat and dog videos and elephants, which is great. But sometimes it's like the algorithm just takes over, and then sometimes it'll just be like weird things on there, and you're just like,
Weird things.
what's
Yeah. You're like,
happening?
where? Yep. Yep. Yeah. It's testing you. It's testing you. Yeah. It's the simplest thing.
Yeah, like so. I mean, it's not horrible stuff, but it's just random, right? I'm like, wait, are they just trying to sell me stuff now? I don't know what's happening. But I like the dog and cat videos. That's good. All right,
Yeah.
let's talk about
Me
the show
too.
for a minute. When did you
Sure.
find the show?
Sex in the City?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I found this show when I was still in high school, so 15
Oh,
or
great.
16.
That's great.
Yes, I was very early on. Like I said, I'm a little gay boy. I'm clamoring. A
Fantastic.
powerful, strong woman, four of them, an ensemble. Girl, sign me up. I'm done. I'm there.
Excellent. Excellent.
You know
That's
what I
why
mean?
we exist. Yes. We want you all to find us. Yes, indeed. Yes,
Exactly.
indeed.
And even to this day, I still watch all the episodes. Like when
Ah.
they asked me to rewatch this episode, I said, I'll need to rewatch it.
Wow. I'm so impressed. It's so
I
much
was like, I don't need to
fun.
rewatch this. Are you kidding me? That's just, when she said the title, I already knew this was when you were in there. You didn't want to go and you didn't want to go into the locker
It's
room.
true.
That's also the newspaper, right? You
Yes.
saw the newspaper of
Yes.
Big
It's a big
getting married.
scene. Yes.
I'm a gay man. Test me. I could go through it. Thanks.
This is the joy of doing this podcast because I had never rewatched these episodes myself since we made them, right? So back in the day, they would send us a VHS of like a rough cut. So before it aired on HBO, and we would rush home and put it in the VHR, what do you call it? I
Yeah.
can't be, whatever, all the
Yeah,
different
yeah,
numbers,
yeah.
letters. And we would watch it, but it might not have every scene, or it might have like a graphic that's not done or whatever. But, we were so excited to see it. But then I didn't watch it because I was too busy. We were working and I was learning my lines and whatever, right? So rewatching it, sometimes I don't remember stuff at all. And then sometimes I really, really do, or I might remember what's happening, off camera that day or whatever. But a lot of it, I'm just so incredibly impressed with our writers. Like our writing is just so great.
I think that your show is one of the shows that has stood the test of time, where you see these women, and even though the generation that it was displaying is different,
Right.
I still, especially for me, being on a daytime talk show, I see the women going through the same exact thing, the same fears, the same ideas, the same thoughts, the same conversations about maybe someone who's more sexual versus someone who's more traditional, and the
Yes.
divide in it. And so it was ahead of its time in a beautiful
Thank
way.
you.
So congratulations
Thank
on
you.
being something
Thank
so
you. We're
amazing.
so lucky. But it's also so fun to hear people who, like yourself, like literally know more about the show than I do. It's so amazing. And it really impresses me so deeply, in terms of
Yes.
just like the incredible luck to be part of something like that lives on
Yeah.
for people. Like for me,
Yeah.
I was like Attack of the 5'10" woman. Okay, I know that's probably Natasha because I know who the 5'10" woman is, but that's literally all I remembered about this one. But when I start rewatching it, of course, more things come back to me. Like this is the incredible episode where Lynn Cohen comes on as Miranda's housekeeper Magda.
Oh yes.
And she's so brilliant and great.
Her dildos out of the
Yes.
side.
Oh my
drawer
God.
and put a
Virgin Mary. It's
Virgin Mary,
mortifying.
Yes. Oh my
I had
gosh.
forgotten about that. And Magda Lynn Cohen stayed on into the movies. We had her for a very long time, and she very sadly passed away not too long ago. But she was a great actress, a great actress. And I just remember that the way that their relationship, Miranda and Magda's relationship, developed, because it starts out in this very kind of uncomfortable way. And then Miranda's bought herself this apartment. She's doing well in her job, and she gets a housekeeper, and it's a very big deal. And Carrie's like, "You're the housekeeper," and then like she's arranging tea, and Miranda's like, "Well, I like coffee." And then, like one thing leads to another. She's like, "Where's my hairdryer? Can't find my hairdryer." And then she says, "I'm going to reorganize this drawer." And Miranda's like, "No." And then she opens the bedside table, and there it is. And, she's so mortifying. And then the next time Miranda reaches in that drawer, there's the Virgin Mary, and she has to stand up for herself and go to Magda and say, like, "Who is this lady in my drawer?" Which is like such a crazy, funny scene. And Magda's like, "That's the Virgin Mary." And then she says, something like she basically just has to stand up. She says, "I already have a mother and I don't need another one. And I'm a single woman in New York City, and I do have a man that I like, but also I have sex and I'm not going to apologize for it." Yes. And it's just so great. Yes. It's so great. And like kind of interesting that it needs to be done, and that I feel like you still kind of have to stand up for yourself, in that
to
way.
This day. Yes. When we're on Queer Eye, one of the main things that a lot of the women that we help, that we, that will support in their transformation, a lot of them are feeling as in their lives, they don't know how to find that voice to stand up for themselves. And that's a big piece of like why we always, especially they come in, they're like, "Well, I still have dreams, but yet I don't know if I can say them. Everyone, I have to do for everyone else, but I don't feel like I can stand up and say I need time for me." Right. And I think what that episode does, and why it's still poignant and important today, is it tells everyone that if you have something that is important to you, that is, whether it's a sex toy or just your freedom to be who you are, you have to stand up for it.
It's true. It's true.
Have
And
to stand up for
it's
it.
interesting because it's definitely a through line of the show. And it's interesting to see the different ways
Yeah.
that it shows up, right? So like for
Uh-huh.
Miranda, she's having this kind of very basic situation where this woman has come into her house and she feels judged. And then for Charlotte, because they're going to which I do remember, this was directed by Pam Thomas, who is a great director. It's written by Cindy Shupak, who has relatively newly joined the show. We first had Darren Star, then we had Michael Patrick King. Then we got Jenny Bakes, and Cindy is our fourth writer that we've hired full time. So now we've got 2 women, 2 men. And it's, we're firing on all cylinders in this season 3.
Yeah.
This is when things are really like clicking together, right? And you're really seeing kind of the overall themes really, really like cement themselves in a way.
Yes.
And so
yes.
Charlotte, and I remember this because I remember having a lot of anxiety. That's what I remember about this episode is like, I didn't want to be wrapped up in a towel. I feel really bad about my thighs. I still feel really bad about my thighs. I am old now and I still feel really bad about my thighs. Like
Yeah.
it is so ground into you as a young woman, looking at
Yeah.
Vogue, looking at the 6 feet tall models, the twiggy figures. Still today, you look at these models like Paris Fashion Week just happened. They're tiny. Things have not changed.
Yeah.
I mean, they're supposed to have changed, but have they changed? I don't
They have
think
not.
so.
Actually, I think we're regressing in a lot of ways. I mean, I don't know if you saw recently there's this pushback on body positivity, and so it's
What
gone. Like it's like
on
there's no
earth?
more of accepting all body types, and it's just crazy that something that was just meant to say, hey, we just love yourself. Love yourself the way you are has been returned to this idea that no, it's wrong. It's wrong.
We cannot let that stay. We
We cannot.
I mean, I have
We
a
cannot.
14-year-old daughter and, I have to really, really retrain myself in terms of, how I talk about food and, because obviously I am still an actress, right? But I talk about like healthy, I try to always focus on healthy. And like when we did decide to go back to work and doing just like that, I hired a trainer and it was COVID still. So we were working out in the yard, you know what I mean? Like but in my youth, I would have been like, I'm not thin enough to go back to work. So now I just don't say that. I've retrained my language or whatever because I don't want her, like there's enough in the culture, everywhere you look, right? Like I want her to feel powerful and strong and proud of her body. It's beautiful. They're all beautiful, but it's such an interesting thing that we have to fight so hard for that,
It is. And I think a big part of that, I have to tell you, and this is where like me as a male, even as a gay man, I say that it's our responsibility as well to step up. When I see, the conversation that happened, it's us to say this is not okay.
Right.
It's for us to check other guys. And I'm always constantly telling my sons, but as well my friends, I'm like, yo, when you hear something like that, say something.
Yeah.
Like speak up. Like
That's
don't
good.
let that slide. You cannot let that slide.
Right. In the
and
moment.
I think the more that in the moment, you can't let that slide. You can't let one of your boys say something because you think like, oh my gosh, this is fine. Like it's just a joke. No, a joke for you is someone else's self-esteem being severely hurt.
Right.
That for you, that joke, it's a joke that you can laugh off and forget. But for someone else that is now they're in their living room or in their bathroom every day, questioning if they're enough, questioning if they look good enough.
It's lodged in there.
It's lodged in there.
Yeah.
And I think it's that responsibility of, if, all I can do is speak to other men. I mean, I speak to everyone, but like I say, you got to speak up in a moment and say, no, cut that out. It's not
That's
okay.
so good. It's so good. I mean, it's so interesting too, right? Because like, I'm from the generation that I'm from, and sometimes you're just really hoping that things have changed. But you're right. You can't ever like look away or just assume that things are changing because it's an ongoing struggle, all different ways.
Yeah, ongoing struggle. Yeah,
ongoing struggle,
definitely.
big time. Okay, so the really big theme in this particular episode is about, as you brought up, the newspaper. So I had forgotten this totally. We're at brunch, things seem fine. Charlotte is like sadly looking at the wedding section. And so we see she's looking and she's talking about how like there's some 24-year-old who previously had a job, as though of course now she doesn't because she's married her stockbroker or whatever. Also still so true, right? So interesting. And then of course she turns the page and she sees that Big and Natasha have gotten married. And I try to very badly hide the newspaper under my elbow. And of course, Samantha's like, what is that? And then her face falls and, poor Carrie. And I had totally forgotten the scene where I go back to Carrie's apartment with her and Charlotte doesn't want to let her be alone. I had forgotten that, but it's such a sweet, sweet scene. And it's rare that you see Charlotte comforting Carrie, Like usually it's the other way around. So it was really nice. And I think it was so smart of Charlotte. Like this is an area that she knows about and she knows Carrie's going to try to act like she's fine.
Well, the funny part is that's the thing that I always loved about Charlotte's character is like, okay, even if you go to the movie, that iconic thing when Big didn't show up and Charlotte's the one that's like, no, she's always been that fierce protector of Carrie in love. And it has been the most beautiful thing. She's always been the one that's like, no, I understand love more than any of these women, and I'm going to protect your heart and encourage your heart, but make sure you're not going to be alone in any of these moments.
That's a good point.
And I think that's what you saw. That's what you see in that moment. She's like, no, I'm going to be here for you. Let's read it. Let's read it together.
Right.
And let's get through it so you can have your cry and you're not going to be alone. And then you're going to know that love is still available for you.
Right.
And I think that's what Charlotte does so really great. Yeah.
That's so true and very well put.
But if you think about it, it's also like now Instagram. Like, could you imagine today, you and your character and Carrie's character would have been scrolling Instagram and saw the announcement of the wedding.
True.
You know what I mean?
That's so true.
This generation would never understand us opening up newspapers.
No, I know. Well, every time we reach for like one of those landlines or those old cell phones, it makes me laugh so hard. But also I have such nostalgia for it because things are changing so quickly now, like just so quickly. It's insane. But anyway, so then the other really huge thing, I just like to talk about the big things first, is I had also completely forgotten that they go to try on clothes, Miranda and Carrie, and they run into Natasha in the next dressing room. Oh my God. I mean, your worst nightmare, really, literally. Like, I mean, I relate to this so much. Like, you think like, okay, I've put it over there in that compartment, right? And I'm fine. And then like the literal woman walks out. And she's tall and beautiful and so cool.
Yeah.
She's so composed. And Carrie's there in her underwear trying to cover herself up. And later when she says she's like, she lists off the things like she's this and she's beautiful and she's young and she's tall and I'm, short and complicated and my hair is curly. And like, it's so real to me how Carrie, who we really think of as this very powerful character, this powerful woman, is just so undone by this situation, by it not going the way she thought, trying so hard for so long, to get big, to show his feelings and, to try to she tries so many things with him. Do you know what I mean? Like she shows up at the door. I saw the other day on Instagram, or it must have been a TikTok, where they have just different cuts of her showing up at Big's door and all the different outfits, like in her dominatrix outfit and her French maid, the beret, like that's later. Like she just tries so hard, you know, and it doesn't work. And then he marries this woman who is just the opposite of her, which of course we know that that's not going to work either, but she doesn't know that at this point in time, right?
Yeah.
And it's just so hard to feel, good about yourself and complete when this kind of thing has happened, even though you should.
Well, but I know, but it's because our culture always makes us want to compare. Like when you said that scene, it's so vivid of like where she says, she's tall, she's beautiful, she's straight hair, I'm curly hair with a sex columnist, or something, whatever.
Right.
And it's one of my things that I've always said to people, it's a quote that's not mine, but it's comparison is the thief of joy. And I tell people that all the time. It's if you steal your own joy. And what we saw in that episode is her steal her own joy and still and forget how beautiful it is. And I always try to think to myself, why do we do that? And what I love about this episode is it shines a light on like, we can't do that. Because as we know, that young woman becomes the most accomplished adult woman in the world. She becomes the writer. She becomes powerful. She becomes self-assured.
Yeah.
But she needed that lesson.
Of course.
And I think people forget, instead of comparing, we need to say that this was a complete lesson that we needed for that moment. And I think the more you can shift that, you can shift that mindset, the better off you are.
I think that's great. I mean, I also think that we wouldn't have had a show if she could do that.
Exactly. No, of course not. No,
you know
no,
what I
we
mean?
needed her to be a mess. So we
Yeah,
needed her a mess,
totally. We needed all of them to be going through so much stuff.
Of course.
Samantha's storyline over here is like the spa. Oh my God, the masseuse. I had also forgotten about
she got him
this.
fired. I totally slipped my mind.
I know,
yeah,
right?
She got the tip off.
I know.
And
then
happy endings.
I had totally forgotten that. And I literally have never, ever in my life heard of women getting happy endings at a massage place. Have you?
No, I haven't. I
Me
think more
either.
should, though.
I mean,
think more should.
I guess, though, it seems like it would be weird with a stranger. I don't
know. I think that maybe there could be a couple of women if they were open to it. Like, it's nothing I'd recommend, but I think, like, well, why not?
I mean, that's true. Like,
I mean, in a classy establishment.
Maybe, yes, in a classy establishment. I mean, I do feel like massage. I haven't gotten one in forever because I'm too busy with kids and whatever. But like, it is such a like a wonderful treat, you know, just to have.
Yes.
Like, and you don't need to know the person. It's just comforting to just have someone rubbing your body, which is kind of weird to think about.
Yeah.
Right. But the thing that also I had totally forgotten about how Carrie and Samantha then go to that event that Natasha is doing, you know, that charity event, but then Natasha's not even there. Carrie buys these shoes and she has tea with me. And she says, do you want to see my shoes? And I was like, oh, you mean the shoes you can't afford, which is foreshadowing her whole shoe debt, you know, and then wanting the money from me many seasons later. Like, it's also interesting, like how connected our writers were in terms of these little moments that then build up over time. But then, so Samantha and Carrie go off to the event, you know, looking fantastic. Then, of course, Natasha's not there. And then I had totally forgotten that they run into the woman at the spa who had told Samantha that particular masseuse went down on her. And there are 3 women there. And the woman says, that's the one who got him fired. And they're like, oh, what? You got him fired. And then this one woman says, well, who's going to me now? And Samantha's like, what? And I'm like, oh my God, what kind of drama was going on with this guy? I had forgotten all of that. I mean, it was quite something. But I mean, almost I would have to go back to Cindy and ask her what this was based on, because usually all of our storylines had to be based on something that had happened to the writers.
Really?
Or their friend.
Really?
It could be once removed. Like, it wasn't the actors. Everyone thought these were our stories. They were never our stories, thank God, because that would be very hard to play your own story, right?
Yes, of course.
But it was always had to be like based in a real story.
So that means there are women out there that are getting their happy endings. Okay, good for
I
them.
know. I mean,
Good
I don't know where,
them.
but yeah, I guess good for them. I mean, it's so bizarre to think about it, but it's perfect for Samantha, of course, because she really wanted this and then she doesn't get it and she's really sad. And then for me, I mean, I feel like, I don't know, of course, my whole storyline could absolutely be based on me because I hate my legs. You know, they knew I hate my legs. I was always worried about, you know, what I was wearing or whatever. And I remember that this director, Pam Thomas, she had come from the commercial world and she always had a really good visual eye. So I remember when I'm running through the spa and it kind of has like comedy music, you know, and I'm like trying to like little by little, I hide behind this like tower of towels and I let my towel down to my waist or whatever. And then I scurry like a little mouse into the spa. And then I take my towel down and I'm all nervous. And then this woman goes, I would kill for your breasts. And I'm like, okay, like, you know, whoa, this worked out. Like I hadn't thought about that, you know, which I had forgotten that whole thing. And I mean, it's definitely like the comedic, you know, there was like, there'd be like an A, B, C, D storyline for all 4 of us. And, you know, that's just how it is when you have 4 strong leads or whatever, however you want to define it. And mine is definitely the D, but I still love it. Like it has so much resonance that like you're worried about one thing, you forget about what you have that other people would want. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, of course. That's what we were talking about earlier with the comparison. Like to see your character be validated later on about something that they were confused about, I think it was the most beautiful part of the scene.
Me too, right? Like she would never think like, oh yeah, I do have good breasts. Like, you know what I mean? She never mind. Then she was like, oh wow, this is a outcome I didn't foresee happening. I dig it. Like it's nice. It's nice to see like even just the little moments of growth, you know, along the way. because we all
Early
know.
HBO days where they were all still doing like full bush in the like locker
I
room
mean,
and
there was a lot of naked ladies. I was shocked. I don't remember
stuff.
that. I was like, wow.
Do they prep you and say when you walk on set there's going to be 40 million naked ladies there? Like how did like
I mean, they must have. They must have because this
yeah,
is back before the intimacy coordinators, right? But we would still, I mean, gosh, this is a good question because now what you would need to do, like there'd be so many precautions taken, right? Like, how you have
of
Video
course.
Village on a set, right? Like
Yeah,
the Video Village would have been like everyone would have been sent away and to make sure there weren't like looky-loos, at Video
yes, of
Village and all
course.
that to make those
Yes.
women feel safe and protected. And this is a long time ago, so who knows what happened then? And I didn't even remember that it happened, right? So I'm not going to remember this, but I do think we would have like a closed set, So let's
Yeah.
say like the larger crew wouldn't be standing there, like the lighting
Yes, yes,
guys and the
yeah. The
grips
lighting
and
guys and all
you know what
that.
I mean? Like all of those people would
Yeah.
go. But those ladies seemed really relaxed. I mean, I'm sure that
They
they had
were.
been
They were.
hired like with the knowledge of, what they
Yeah,
were going
they're
to
gonna be
do.
there.
You know what I mean? But I hadn't remembered that there were that many naked ladies. There were a lot. There were a lot of naked ladies. There were a lot. I mean, it was kind of cool, because it was like,
Of course, yeah.
relaxed. They were very relaxed.
Yeah.
I mean, it's funny
Yeah.
though to look back because some of these things I don't remember, and I'm like impressed that we did it.
Yeah. It was ahead of its time. Ahead of
For
its time.
sure.
That's why it's a cultural phenomenon.
It's
Yeah.
true. It's so nice. It's so nice that it still holds up, and you still don't see these things. Oh yeah, there's another funny
Yeah.
little trivia thing. When they do go to this writing luncheon, we talk about Carrie says she's checking in and they have a weird moment where her name might not be on there. And Samantha and she are talking and they say, oh, there's Gloria Steinem across the room. Now we never see Gloria Steinem in this particular scene, but later on, Gloria comes on our show and then just like that. And all of us had been
Mhm.
huge Gloria Steinem fans. Our moms were all, had Ms. Magazine on the table when we were growing up.
There was the big one where she reclaimed her power when she found out that she spelled "there" wrong.
Oh my God.
Yeah, that
You're
was the
so
thing that
right.
would set me off the
I had
most.
forgotten
Yes.
that as well. I'd forgotten that as
Yeah.
well. So that is the scene after. So she goes to this luncheon thinking that she's going to look fabulous and present herself beautifully. And then Natasha isn't even there, which is kind of a disappointment. So she goes home and the voiceover kind of connects it all. And Natasha, even though she didn't make it to the event, sends out handwritten thank you notes, which is kind of impressive, I think. But then when she goes to read it, she realizes that Natasha has spelled there wrongly for the sentence. And for a writer, of course, that's like hugely important. And she immediately calls Miranda on her clunky old phone and says, I believe she says, it's a good thing she got married. The woman is an idiot. Ooh, burn, my God. But it is kind of that kind of definitely like self-claiming amongst ourselves. Like, you know what? We're smarter, we're better, we can do these things. We're out here in the world, we're not going to get married and like fall back on that,
Agreed.
Wait, and then there's something, I didn't realize that the reference in the title is to the 1958 film Attack of the 50-Foot Women.
Oh, yeah.
Well, that kind of makes sense then, because that's what she seems like to carry, you know what I mean? And it does, my notes here do tell me that the New York Times wedding announcements are still a thing, which is funny. So I guess if you're like coming from one of those families where it was important, you can still do the official as well as the Instagram. You know what I mean? Right? It's so
now,
funny.
I want to go get married and put that in there, not because I really want it in there, just because I want to have a moment where an ex opens it up and sees me getting married.
I mean,
now I want to do
that's
it.
real. That's real. That's real. That's real.
I'm joking.
right,
I know how to do it.
I mean, listen, you could do it if you wanted. You know what I'm saying?
Okay, you want to, right?
Yeah, do what you want.
And it's just also interesting what your writers did really well. And why, just to keep praising you all, because this really is, I'm glad to give you your flowers,
Thank you.
is those type of scenes, like we see Natasha is insecure as well. She doesn't want to come. she doesn't want to confront this anymore. This is
It's a
not
good
about
point.
like, because if I'm on the board of something, I'm gonna come. But it just shows that we all have our own securities. We're all in our own head,
True.
and even the most perfect among us, we're all making mistakes. And so, the best lesson is just live your life for you and love your life how it is. And I that's why when they said this was the episode,
Uh-huh.
I thought to myself, oh, I know it. I know this episode because
I'm
it's
so
one of the best.
impressed. I'm so impressed.
Thanks.
I didn't hardly
Thanks.
remember this episode at all. I love
Well,
it.
I'm a
Wait,
super fan. I'm a super fan.
I have a question for you.
Yes.
Are you a Charlotte?
So I believe that you have to find out from other people. So before we got
Oh,
on this,
yeah.
my entire Karamo show staff was upstairs. And a lot of them have also worked with me on Queer Eye for the
Got
last
it.
10 seasons. And I said, I need y'all to tell me who I am. And the general consensus from everyone is that I'm a Charlotte. I'm a Charlotte. They all
Amazing.
said it.
That's so nice. Aw.
I think the only part that got me is because I'm not as like prudish.
Right.
You know what I mean? I am
Yes.
still like a gay man. I'm older, so like my hoey days are gone and they're behind me. But you know, in my 20s,
Sure.
she was in a crop
Listen,
in a short
Charlotte
having
was
fun.
kind of a prude, but if you actually watch, she actually, there was a pretty high body
Yes.
count. You know what I'm saying?
Pretty high. Yeah,
Yeah.
she had her fun.
Yes.
But yeah, they all said, no, you're the romantic, you're the kind one. You're always like telling people to giving them advice and telling them to slow down and be good.
That's nice.
And so apparently I'm the Charlotte.
I
I
love
didn't know.
it.
If they would have asked me, I thought they were gonna say I was like Miranda, but I guess I'm not. But
Maybe you're a Miranda inside your own head.
in my head I'm Miranda.
Right.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it. I haven't had anyone yet go and take a poll. So I really appreciate that level of research. Very nice.
I just had
Very
to
nice.
because you know what? This is my thing. When everybody talks about Sex and the City, they all want to claim who they are.
Got it.
And no, you got it. And when they claim who they are, I'm like, no, you're not that person.
I know. I mean, sometimes I do think like who you are in your own mind.
Yeah, it's not who you are.
Very different than like how your friends see you or the world sees you or whatever.
You're pretty exceptional and amazing.
Oh, sweet. Thank you.
Yeah,
so are
you
you.
are.
I'm so thrilled you came on the podcast. What a joy.
Anytime, anything for you.
Oh,
you're
amazing.
Yeah.
I would love to come on your show. You're great.
Anytime. Yes,
Okay.
come on. Yeah.
All right. Yay.
Listen, have a great day and thank you so much. And good luck with everything.
You too. You too. Mwah.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Mwah. Bye, love.
Bye.